everyone. Welcome to the May Anime Podcast. Today, we are doing a retro-ish podcast, which we are going to be covering three classic rom-coms. Uh, those would be Kareshi Kanajo no Jijo or Kare Kano, Chobits, and Clannad. And yes, you can consider Clannad to be retro or old or whatever because it came out in 2007. That was like 12, 13 years ago. 12.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's old enough. Old enough in my book.
Anything over
Anyway,
10 years is an antique, right? A decade is an antique?
I don't know. In internet terms, a decade is a century, basically. So,
a week is too long for a meme, so let's go.
yeah. How's everyone doing tonight? Everyone doing great? All right,
I'll be good after this coffee, but we'll just press on.
Why don't we introduce ourselves? I am, of course, Neo Tokyo Tempo.
I am Gesseru.
676 here.
僕は、僕はトゥライカーレッドです。
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So first, we're going to be covering Kareshi Kanajo no Jijo or Karekano. I don't know why I just love saying the full name for some reason.
His
yeah,
circumstance, which is the American name.
I just call it Hideaki Anno's love fan fiction.
Yeah. So his and her circumstances, or Karekano, came out in fall of 1998, and was not incredibly popular with fans of anime, and has only gained a cult following. But in the industry, it has been extremely influential. Because almost every rom-com that has ever come after it has taken after it, has taken inspiration from it. Let's see. It was created by Studio Gainax with some help from JC's staff, and it was directed by Hideaki Anno right after he made Neon Genesis Evangelion. It's it's what you would expect, kind of, from a shoujo anime rom-com, but it also has a flavor all of its own. So I guess we'll all just give our thoughts. Let's start with Stryker, and hopefully he won't give us his thoughts in Moonspeak.
Well, what was I expecting from this anime? Well, I was aware of it like a while ago because, well, it's from Gainax. And let's just say that anything that Gainax touches either becomes a giant rabbit hole or ends up becoming a massive meme. This is basically one of the weirdest crossovers I've ever seen because I didn't know Hideaki Anno even did romantic comedies. This is the same guy who directed Eva, and well, considering how much of a emotional, we all know how Eva is.
Yep.
So here's a personal story. After we did the last podcast, I actually jumped into Go Anime, like the minute after we finished, and started watching the first episode. And this was this is a story. Well, how should I say this? I was instantly hooked. It was it was interesting to see how looks on how appearances can be deceiving.
Yeah.
It,
Anything in particular that you liked or disliked about the show?
Man, I'll be honest with you, the last episodes dragged on like crazy. I was already saying, "Make it stop! God damn it! Why?"
Yeah. I think it should have ended at maybe like episode 23 or 22. I forget which exact one, but when they have that sort of esoteric sequence with Arima and Yukino,
Mm-hmm.
that really was kind of the resolution of their character arcs, and it spent the last couple episodes just kind of meandering around and not doing much.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, Neil, I pretty much treat it as a ship post because, well, it's from Gynet. So, what can we expect from that company?
Yeah. I found I found this show. Well, first of all, Yukino Miyazawa is one of my favorite characters in all of anime. She's kind of like she's sort of what you would describe as a tsundere. Um,
No,
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 it is tsundere.
It's tsundere, but you can call him a tsundere if you're just doing like the shorthand. But yeah, go ahead.
But anyway, she is absolutely maniacal and scheming, and she's just almost everything she does is this cynical sort of attempt to advance her position in the world. But
in other words, she's the classic attention whore.
yeah, kind of. But then when that ends up biting her in the ass, she ends up self-reflecting heavily. And I really like how this show does the characters' self-reflections. It is possibly the only show that I've ever seen that has handled self-monologues so well. And it does this with very over dramatized sort of montages of what's going on inside the characters' heads. That and it transitions at any point in time. The show can transition between reality and a character's internal interpretation of reality very smoothly and without confusing the audience.
Yeah, we basically get a peek at their psychological well-being, at their conscience, what they are really thinking about,
Yeah,
how people will think about them. You know.
Yeah, you really get a genuine sense of what makes these characters click. Much more than you would normally do with other shows. And it doesn't feel ham-fisted or force-fed. Josh, what are your thoughts on the show? Anything you liked, disliked?
So I'll start with the dislikes. There definitely was the issue of it dragging on a little bit too long. That's more to do with the seasons. Whenever it comes to that time period where you had to come out with, what was it, 25, 26 episodes or 24?
Yeah.
But they divided everything up in the season, so you couldn't have a 12 episode or go oh well, we need about 16. They didn't divide that up the same way back then, so it was going to go longer just to make sure that it covered everything else. That being said, you could see that the budgeting once it became less and less popular, that they stopped animating it as well. The American voice actors were absolutely horrible through a good portion of it, with very few exceptions to that role.
Yeah, I
well,
found I've seen it both subbed and dubbed, and I find the only voice actor in the dub that's particularly good is Yukino Miyazawa herself.
Yeah, it's Yukino, and then there's a couple good side characters, and that was because they were trying for bigger roles and they were trying to use this as a resume, and you can kind of tell that. However, it still lacked that. But that's all technical issues on the anime and funding. Was my gripes. However, if you look at the story, the setups, the author of this show did an amazing job in setting up a world that made sense, being very consistent with the characters, showing absolute character growth, reflections. This is how a love story should play out correctly. Now, is that meant for every single person? Absolutely not. However, whenever I'm going to go and watch a rom-com, whether that be an American one, whether that be watching a Japanese anime, whether that just be a random TV show that I'm watching with my girlfriend, I'm going to be comparing it to this anime from now on because of how well the pacing was, how well the writing was, except for the ending whenever
Yeah.
they kind of had this stretched out. But outside of that, everything else was just so solid that it's almost important that you watch it to get a good bar standard.
Guys,
That's
mind
it.
if I
I can sum that up.
I mention something?
Go ahead.
Regarding the English voice actors, if you've never seen anything by 4Kids or Central Park Media, you will notice that it's the same voice actors. The main character was played by none other than Veronica Taylor. This was the same woman who later on would play Ash Ketchum for the first 8 seasons of Pokemon. Her mother was Rachel Lillis, who played Misty in the first seasons of Pokemon. Megan Holinshed played one of her sisters, who was also famous for playing Mai Valentine from Yu-Gi-Oh!, Whitney and Nurse Joy from Pokemon, and
Calm down.
Yeah. That was a huge issue with the anime studios back in the day as well. Like we can gripe about that. There's still issues with that now because if you look at any voice actor's resume, you're gonna see that they do over 100 voices, some hitting over 3 in some cases.
there was one else I forgot.
This is like griping on about like who the voice actors are. In America is like you're gonna get that everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, like my girlfriend will literally watch anything with J. Michael Tatum in it just because J. Michael Tatum's in it, and I hear his voice in almost every character now because I hear him so often. So
Yeah.
griping on about like these people were in like Pokemon and that you relate it back. I mean, another one of my favorite animes was Comic Party, and all I heard was Misty's voice because the main female protagonist in the show played Misty, and I was like a young kid whenever I heard that. I was like, "Oh, that's really cool," but now as an adult, I understand. So griping on about that isn't a huge
No. I'm not really griping at it, but I just found it really interesting. And then we have Jessica Calbello, who played Edsel from the Edsel Saga series. If you were to watch the English dub and listen to Yukino, she would sound a lot like May from Advanced Generations. Before the redub.
So Mike, what are your thoughts? Likes, dislikes?
I think, first of all, Hirokano was the hardest one for me to get through, I should say. I'm not a romantic comedy person to begin with. B, I'd never even heard of these series before. Other than Chobits, I've heard inklings of it and seen one scene. So Karikano, I came in already like sketchy. I hate it because there's some points, like what Josh pointed out, there's some really solid points, but then the types of characters they chose, it almost irks me that they chose these for their main characters. I found myself being more invested in all of the side characters' arcs, more so than these two brats trying to fall in love. I felt like Arima was just as much of a brat as Yukino.
So, what? Can you go into more detail? What was bratty about them?
Well, Arima, it felt like he was like, for me, his bratty personality came from the fact that it looked like he was A, obsessive with this chick, and B, he kind of ignored what his aunt and uncle were doing for him. He kept looking at this emptiness, yet not taking that into account. Like, the first time he ever recognized they cared for him was when the teachers called them in to not date each other.
To be fair, regarding Arima's background, he being the black sheep of a family that goes as back as the Edo era, and being rejected by said family because his parent.
They stole a whole bunch of money from the family and then disappeared, and they're still missing by the time the show comes along.
Yeah, and he's basically treated as like the one to take out the problems on. But the thing is, like, that's what I hate, is like he keeps forgetting how many times his uncle like stick up for him, and it's like, that doesn't matter, you're a great kid. And he just fucking ignores that every step of the way through the series. I'm like, how bratty can you be? I think I dislike Arima the most.
Yeah,
I think English voice isn't even better because it's so deadpan.
Yeah, I'd actually agree with a lot of that. That story arc wasn't the greatest.
Like, I found more interest in, like, Tsubasa's story arc than Yukino or Arima's throughout the whole series.
Oh, dear lord.
Like, the series, like, and I hate it because there were so many good elements. The way they constructed some of their jokes, the way they would work the animation and have this over-the-top joke, and then allow that joke to stay stay continuous into a serious scene. Like when, Yukino, like, kicks that fucking car, and then the police are actually taking account of the car accident.
That was Tsubasa.
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to remember, was it before or after Yukino chased her? I think that was before.
Yeah, it was before.
After. Wait, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think
the whole
Yukino matters too much.
The whole point of Yukino chasing Super, I actually really enjoyed the animation, how that scene played out.
You know, there is
sorry, I'm going on a bit long, but to sum it up, yeah, it was hard for me to get through this series, and it has more dislikes than likes.
All right, let's move on to RJ.
Yeah, shoujo anime.
Oh yeah, that was
The surfer dude.
Oh, let me look at the cast list real quick. That was Asuba.
I got bullied by Sakura because I was such a fat ass.
Yeah,
Tonami.
Sakura was her bullying of him was pretty funny though.
That actually, yet again, another instance where I felt more interested in another set of side characters than these main characters.
and then there's the fact that she was going around being the female version of the dude who wanted who wanted to do that amusement park thing.
You mean the Maryland?
Yeah. Oh god, the Maryland part. Jesus. I cannot say this dude was clearly going for a massive harem. Like,
Oh, I
Yeah,
That's
I mean
what
that was his character. Like, what's really funny is I can relate that to people I actually know in real life. So, like, a lot of this has been more relatable, because of people that have been in my life and that have been causing issues and things like that. So, watching like this anime play out, um, yeah,
What?
I
I'm a massive pickup artist. I could get you a lot of pussy.
I mean, actually, back in that time period, there's a lot of anime characters that were like that did actually have good character arcs, but we can get into that discussion at a different time.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Oh, you mean the Namco game?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. We're starting to run a little long with this section. So
Yeah.
just all right. So yeah, everyone, give your just give a quick score.
Mm.
We'll start with Striker. Striker, give a quick score.
Alright. Regarding how niche this anime was and yet how iconic it was, I'm gonna give it a 7.
All right. Josh.
I'd say it starts at like a 9, but it ends at like a 6. So it has that very big issue going on, and I can't ignore the flaws. So I'm gonna give it like a 7.5. Actually, like it's definitely C grade.
All right. 676.
just because of how difficult this one was to get through compared to the others, and just how many things I disliked, was like I give it a 4.
All right. RJ. By the way, who's averaging these up?
I can do it really fast.
All right. All right. I would say Kade Kano, I would almost go as far as to call it a flawed masterpiece. It has a lot of problems. It has problems with animation. It has problems with just dragging on the story too long, and just a non-ending. It didn't really have an ending. But the meat of it is extremely good, juicy meat. And we didn't even mention the damn soundtrack. I'm just gonna mention
Oh
that
my
real
god, I
quick.
forgot about that. I have
The
because that
soundtrack
was
was
actually
really
the best
good.
soundtrack. Yeah, fuck. All right, I'm raising
Like-
mine to an 8. I forgot about that. Shit.
I feel like there's a couple songs in there I've heard in other places.
Yes, a lot of the soundtrack is used in meme videos.
No, I feel like I've seen them in actual other anime before. There's certain songs in particular, like the
all right, so-
instrumentation is done different.
Some of the songs are in later Gainax animes.
That might be.
Like one of them I know for a fact is in the Ava rebuilds. But anyway, I think with all that in mind, I would give it probably an 8. I'd give it an 8.
You know what? I personally like the intro song myself, and it's actually pretty catchy.
I actually liked the outro one more. And I especially like
the outro is pretty good as well.
also, you know how they're like moving the camera through a real school.
Yeah.
You can, if you look hard enough, you can actually see students in the classrooms.
Yeah.
The intro when it comes to some areas, I was just humming along, and then I did some crap like that.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
The only
so
other
those
thing,
are
the average is a 6.7.
6.7.
Yeah.
Our average is lower than Mal, just because.
The 4.
Just because the 4. Mal was 7.64.
Okay. The only other thing I want to add is I wish that a lot of animes would go back. Like this doesn't even involve the anime, but like just that like ending sequence with like having the schools, with the announcements being the voice actors on camera rather than just just having like a really crappy like preview. I wish that a lot of that kind of stuff would come back. Even if it doesn't really affect the anime, like that stuff is kind of
that was pretty
adding
cool.
to it. Yeah,
It's even better. It's even better if you're like not watching the dub and because you actually get
you hear
video of the Japanese voice actors, which are much less cringe.
Dude, mind if I say something regarding the two voice actresses on the end? Oh my god, they were really high. They were both the hypest and unironically the best part of the ending scene. I mean, seriously, especially when they started,
the sisters definitely did it justice. So, but yeah, we can move on from there, ending on a good note about some like niche things about the show as well.
All right. So up
ahead.
next, we're talking about Chobits. I just clicked on the wrong tab. All right, Chobits. All right, Chobits was made by wait a minute.
Clamp.
Studio. What'd you say?
It was Clamp and Madhouse, basically.
Clamp did the original manga. Madhouse was the studio that did the anime. Anyway, it came out in spring of 2002, and it's a bit of a cult hit. Where in America, I remember a lot of people saw it on an on-demand channel from Time Warner called Anime Network.
I see.
Back in the day, when channels advertised what they actually showed.
Dude, ADV was the anime channel was the shit.
Back in the day, whenever I would go on demand and search through every anime just for that one hint of any Ichi scene.
Yeah, and it stars Chi and Hideki. Hideki is a young man just out of high school, trying to get into college, and working in the big city, trying to get by, and but there's a catch. He really wants this thing called a person com. Now, a person com is a humanoid. Yeah, it is a humanoid robot that can I don't know, take your emails, because people thought emails were really important back then.
Go to BBS. Watch
It's a
porn.
laptop in the shape of a person.
But you can screw it.
Oh, we didn't
where the
go
off
straight
button
to
is.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
can't
to
even
be
have
fair-
that.
To be fair, that never actually happens during the show. Never actually happens, but we all know what's going on inside that apartment.
Implications very important.
But anyway, he ends up finding a person com in the trash. And that person com is named Chi. And he turned. But anyway,
but here's a catch regarding said robot. Have you guys noticed the little disc that's been around? That was her memories.
oh yeah,
Gee.
Yeah.
he dropped her memories and he didn't even know. But anyway, the robot
Just
has
like
no
every other guy.
operating system, and she can only say chi at first, but she has the learning algorithm, and eventually she's speaking fluent Japanese. She's the only person com that can actually truly think for herself. And she ends up doing things like getting a job and among other things. And then the plot involves the characters slowly piecing together what exactly she is, and the developing romance between she and Hideki. So let's start with Stryker. What did you think about the show?
I honestly thought it was going to be more trash, but it ended up being a lot better than I expected. I could honestly say that this is the official anime of the Japanese Robosexual Association.
That's yeah, it's run by Stryker Red.
Yeah. Guess what? Yeah, guess what? The future is now, ladies.
Beep boop,
They
baby.
ain't replaced.
Probably. I wouldn't doubt it.
I mean, there is the group working on the robots for fun reasons, and then there's also the fact that a couple American cities have already outlawed prostitution
Yep.
test
Houston,
stores
Texas.
or whatever they were called. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's been
robot
three.
brothels.
I think there was like one in Baltimore that got shut down as well. That they were building. So
Well, the thing is, this anime was pretty prophetic because as you guys said,
Did
It
you
was
wait,
going
did
to-
you did you say prophetic or pathetic?
prophetic,
Okay.
as it was a prophecy to what would eventually be the prototypes for the first female the gynoids that they're developing. And honestly, it was actually one of the it was actually one of the better animes. Here's what happened. I personally had to take a sheet of paper. I wrote down Chobits and Clanad in 2 circles. And then I had to do a coin toss after I finished Karakana to see which anime I was going to watch. And truth be told, 4 out of like 6 times ended up on Chobits. So after that happened, I said, you know what, might as well watch
Yeah.
Chobits. And
But what are your thoughts on the show itself, though?
oh my god, the show. This is actually like well, here's the thing, like Carecano, it was basically a romantic comedy. The thing is, the comedy was actually better executed here than in Carecano in some areas. And this is here's the thing: Gynats can do comedy. They can do both comedy and shitposting, but this anime was basically not taking itself seriously.
Yeah, I think that's one of the show's kind of saving graces, because otherwise it's pretty by the books.
Yeah,
I would call a lot of it very safe.
yeah. And then I recognize the fact that here's the thing: if you're a JoJo fan, you're gonna love this. The main character, who played Hideki. Oh, sorry. The guy who played Hideki was also the guy who would lend his voice to Joseph Joestar during Battle Tendency. That's right. For real. For real, that's Tomokazu Sugita, the same guy who played Joseph Joestar in Part 2.
Let's but but what was there? Was there anything in particular you liked or disliked?
Eh, I think there were more likes than dislikes. I personally like the soundtrack as well as the premise. Uh, what I didn't dig was the art style. I mean, here's the thing: I am not exactly a big fan of Slam's art style because of the big eyes. But
Well,
and
big eyes are pretty ubiquitous.
no 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 no.
I think what's really wrong with the art style is everything looks like it's made out of stretchy rubber.
Oh yeah, it actually gave that feeling as well as what? Oh man, there was something else. There was something else I was thinking about. Oh yeah, the premise itself was actually pretty interesting. Like Chi being like this very one-off robot computer. I mean, it led me thinking if Chi was like really powerful, I would imagine the gaming ones would be incredibly quick. Oh, dude.
Oh
I would
man,
be down for that.
No. But seriously, it was very enjoyable. It was. Oh god.
man.
Oh
Yeah. Stop with the sex jokes. It's making this dialogue.
no. Here's the thing. I wanna name a reference I found in there. This show actually had a couple of references to other animes, at least the ones I could recognize. When she goes into the drama club. Oh wait, that was not in there. That was in Clannad. Sorry. Yeah, for real, it was in Clannad. I
Wow.
found a pretty
Oh my
decent
God.
reference.
Oof. Are you okay?
She can act.
Oh shit.
Oh God. Anyway.
But yeah, go ahead, guys. Go ahead while I'll keep my
Okay.
get together.
All right.
All right.
Josh, you go.
Yeah, I'll
next.
jump on it. This is a very dry anime in a lot of places, and it's very much more based around kind of like a warning to Japan, because they were getting very heavy hints that they were going to go into cyborgs at the time.
Oh crap, guys! My microphone was off.
Yep. Okay. That being said,
Oh god. Okay,
the
I'm sorry.
show-
I just realized my microphone
Okay.
was off this entire time.
all right. Okay. All right. But yeah, that being said, the psychological parts of the show were what really made me enjoy it. It can't be said enough how well they did the setups. They did do the struggles between, it's like, well, this person isn't really a person, and then trying to figure out like the rights between a robot and human, what
Yeah.
they can do. So it's very much like a product of, well, what's society going to look like whenever all of this happens? And I very much enjoyed that philosophy behind the show, that mentality of trying to figure out, well, what's going to happen to humanity as we see it.
Well, it had a kind of a Blade Runner-esque take on that philosophy as well. Like, what is a human? What dictates, the lawmaking and also the repercussions? Because the idea of a human marrying a gynoid in their society was controversial. I mean, it's controversial in ours as well. So
It was even the plot of a Futurama episode when Fry was dating Lucy Liu.
It's gonna always be that, where that's always going to be a debate as long as that's even a thought. However, how they handled it, where they showed some people with getting married, they showed some people abandoning the technology because they were afraid of what it could do. I think that they showed all of the different relationships, and even if a relationship wasn't well done, they at least were trying to show the impacts that it was having on society, and I really appreciated that.
agreed.
Yeah. I think if you're done, I think I'll go next because I haven't gone.
Yeah.
Let's see. What did I like about Chobits? Well, it definitely wasn't the characters. The characters I found to be kind of meh, kind of boring. There's not really much noteworthy about the characters themselves. I didn't find that very interesting. The plot, well, it's about what you would expect from a rom-com with some sci-fi elements mixed in with it. So, that's neither here nor there. Usually rom-coms don't have much plot to them anyway.
And the majority are pretty hateful.
What?
Are they
And
really?
at least the Hollywood ones are pretty hateful.
Oh yeah,
I don't-
they're he's talking about spite, where the main characters are really spiteful towards each other.
Oh, I haven't seen very many Hollywood rom-coms. When I'm saying rom-coms, I'm usually talking about anime because I don't really watch Western stuff like at all. But anyway, so yeah, you don't usually expect much plot from rom-coms anyway. So that's neither here nor there. What things I did like, I liked first of all, I liked the opening theme a lot. I think that opening theme, it's very much a product of its time, but it's also quite timeless. Like I can see this, I can see something like that maybe having a bit higher production, not quite as obvious drum machines or something, being the opening theme of an anime that comes out tomorrow. and it's quite a catchy tune, and it's pretty good.
Very
Um,
much. I agree with that.
I also like what they were doing with the ending themes. Um, in the beginning half of the show, it's this song that is kind of sounds like "You're My Best Friend" by Queen. It's got that same guitar riff. It's very upbeat, and it shows the character from the storybook walking, and with the sound of the song, it makes it seem like the character's like walking into just ever onward into the light, ever upward into happiness and joy. And then for the second half of the show, when it gets a lot more serious, they change it to this sort of kind of listless song that's all in minor chords, and it doesn't feel sad so much as it feels empty. And they didn't change the animation at all, but just changing that song now made the character seem like it was walking ever downward into the abyss, and I quite liked that. Philosophically, the show is very interesting. We did just get into that, so I don't want to go into too much. But I will say that it just kind of conveniently guides itself into its own conclusions philosophically, without ever actually addressing what the contentions with those conclusions would actually be. So it while it's interesting philosophically, I don't think it's incredibly strong philosophically. Mike, why don't you go next?
I actually have to agree with you. It's more of the philosophical element is there to serve the plot, not actually to explore it. So there's a lot of these, oh, well, this is a nice thing to kind of throw at the viewer, but it feels more like it's there to either serve the joke or just this plot element they're pushing. I mean,
Yeah.
This one, I did enjoy it just because I do like philosophical art. As a programmer and stuff, I do like the idea of, well, what the hell would happen if someone created something of this degree? And so it is an interesting exploration of what if we just made human computers instead of using this as an object, and how this would interact with society. Yeah, it's an interesting exploration, but the problem is they're exploring what they want to do with the story, so it's not built to really expand upon it. They just throw those inklings of it there for the viewer to actually draw on their own. But they've got their story already set in stone, and that's where it feels more little genericized, where it's like, oh, love story, robots, a little bit of philosophy, but go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Just to argue that point,
Who's eating?
just a little bit.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. That was a cough drop. I'll just mute.
Okay. But just to argue that point a little bit, they showed different people's reactions to the robots throughout the entire thing. Now, yes, it's Hideki and Chi, and Chi is the most advanced. But that would just be Hideki's reaction. They do have to kind of have a conclusion at the end no matter what. So obviously it is a rom-com. He is going to end up with her. That's kind of where it was going to funnel anyway. But they should have, and I don't know if they touched on it more in the manga, but they should have touched maybe more heavily on him like struggling between liking a real girl versus liking Chi, and like
Agreed.
having that dynamic relationship. And
You know, a friend of mine actually read the manga, and she told me that the lore gets deeper within the manga.
Yeah, I read the manga myself.
Mhm.
I agree with that. The manga was interesting. It's part of. I was gonna say so. Like I mentioned with the Karakano, I had when I was younger, I had the issue of finding these DVDs at the public library. So my other option was the manga, and luckily the entirety of the manga was at the public library and my school's library for some weird reason. I don't know why they had a manga on gynoids, but they did.
yeah,
So, and the kids section nonetheless. So,
well, it's anime. None of the librarians read anime. Come on.
yeah.
Anyway,
So, anyways, yeah. So when I read it, the story was almost like Ghost in the Shell, but for shoujo fans. So there not much action, just lots of dating and is this a real girl you're falling in love with, and are you sure you love her? Blah blah blah. That whole jazz, which becomes a theme actually by the end of the anime too.
yeah, but I wanted to touch on like they did while trying to push what they could in 26 episodes, also show the dynamics between a person that fell in love with that he realizes that it isn't a real girl, but he also created it to be like his sister, so there's kind of like a dead sister complex there. There was the shopkeeper who married one, and then you saw the struggle between him marrying one and then the one girl like hating them. You saw people like giving it up because they realized the dangers of it, which I think that could have been deeper explored. But I'm not gonna fault the anime for not having him fight that conclusion more. I'm gonna grant the anime the fact that they at least even touched on it whenever they didn't have to.
Yeah, there are things like basically right at the surface of it that they just kind of swept under the rug that I can pick at, like what happens when Hideki wants kids, or what happens when Hideki is 50 years old and she hasn't aged a day, or what happens when he dies of old age and she hasn't aged a day,
or
Well,
what
that's
happens
kinda-
whenever
that's-
she's like motherboard breaks, or what happens whenever the memory goes away, or like I think there's a lot of that in there.
There was that whole
Already
thing with
mixed
with Chi's. I gotta say this. There's that whole thing with Chi's sister, which bothered me in the anime, where
Yeah.
You mean
With
Freya?
yeah, Freya she was in a partition. So I know a tiny bit about computer. I mean, I'm fucking around. I know about computers. So what that tells me is there was a partition in the hard drive that was used to preserve her personality. Now Freya is fully aware, and sometimes they like I don't know if they do this. I don't think she was even aware of it, but Freya would take over their body, and so Freya wanted by the end of the anime to be formatted. She wanted the hard drive to be completely formatted, her skull to be gone, because she didn't want to be alive anymore. Blah blah blah. And then Hideki's like, "But I love Chi," and Freya's like, "Mom, Hideki loves her. Only delete my partition, and then don't wipe the hard drive. Just delete my partition." That was kind of a cop out. That was a huge cop out. Like that could have been something interesting, but they kind of.
I don't know if they elaborated that in the manga more, because there's also a lot of people that probably read that wouldn't know what a partition is, that don't understand computers that well, and also
In the manga, it wasn't too different either. I just know about
Okay.
computers, so that just tells me the girl was on a partition.
it also could be the manga writer wasn't that great at computers, and there's also the issue of Hideki, because it is from his point of view, wouldn't understand any of what you just said.
No. What I said is irrelevant because
I know.
At the end of the day, it was basically
It is a cop out.
yeah. Mom, can you erase us? Hideki's like, no, I love her. Oh, don't erase us both. Just erase me. It's like what? What the? Can you at least have some character development, like where Freya cares about Hideki? to the extent of respecting his wishes instead of just, well, I guess they're in love, just delete me. Like, that was.
I had to mention it. She's real name is Elda.
Elda and
Yeah.
Freya.
And
Yeah.
In
and
the,
then there's the
go ahead.
Go ahead.
There was a weird
Look.
Electra complex, by the way. It was Freya. Freya was like, I love Dad. And her father was like, I love you.
programmed this wrong.
Yeah. Like, I love you too, but just not that way. No, I love you, Daddy. I don't feel comfortable with this. No, I mean,
I'm turning you off now.
Yeah. Oh God. The placement of that switch.
maybe
Oh no!
Damn.
maybe that's why the wife like hunted down the other android to make sure Freya died. I'm gonna make sure you don't. I'm gonna make sure you don't
Yeah.
come back home. That's terrible.
Dude,
Alright.
there's how about the teacher and the fact that her husband is personal com supremacist. They were talking about how some people like the robots a lot better than humans, and how she ended up marrying one of her students.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Yeah.
No. That was
They are.
I know they're legal age, but it was like weird that like it's like a student teacher.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. It is an inappropriate relationship, even though they're all adults.
To be fair, the entire anime is inappropriate relationships.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Because even the
yeah.
shopkeeper with the one girl that's definitely still in high school, no one brought that up. So
I didn't think about it in that way. Now I'm starting to think about the show a little different.
the entire
All right.
anime is
All
based
right,
on
we're
horrible relationships. But yeah, I think we're going a little too far now.
yeah.
So
Let's
yeah.
rate it.
Wait, RJ. What things you liked or didn't like?
Okay, what I really liked, honestly, the human element that was in the show, like what, especially like what Josh mentioned. They brought in a lot of those societal concepts because I read the manga and I watched the show, and in the manga there was a scene that really just I still remember, which was Hideki remembering like a television broadcast where this guy had married his gynoid and the entirety of Japan was shocked. Like, why is this man marrying his sex bot? Why is this man dressing her up in a wedding veil? And then what Hideki was depressed about is exactly what you said. It was, what am I going to do when I get old? Because when he got old, the guy, when the guy who married his gynoid, the first person in Japan to do it, when he got old, his gynoid was already suffering from memory loss, and it was like saying really simple phrases. I think that's what happened. I'm remembering this.
It
Really
got
yeah.
destroyed. It got destroyed.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It was already going through what was basically robotic Alzheimer. In other words, her hard drive was full bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's give our ratings real quick. Striker.
Oh my god! This.
Keep track of these so we can average them.
I got it.
All right. I personally thought it was the better of the. Like, it's not out there with Clannad, but it was very enjoyable. For the most part, the soundtrack was brilliant. The plot reminded me of what's going on now. And honestly, this is an 8. Real talk, this is an 8.
Josh.
This is probably one of my favorite animes whenever it comes to just philosophy and talking about the anime afterward. It's still one of the most entertaining for the type of anime it is. I'm not going to say it's the most entertaining anime, but for being a rom-com, being how it is and how it builds up, it is still one of the more entertaining of this genre. The comedy in it is solid, even if the storyline is lacking. the only real issue is a lot of the storyline stuff seems to be missing, and everything else for its time period was really good. So I'm gonna give it I'll give it an 8 as well.
676.
I gotta say, I wasn't expecting it to be as interesting. I didn't fall in love with it, but it did hit a few good points that I'll give it. I'd probably say about a 6.5. Yeah.
All right, RJ.
With the last score I did with Karakano, I gave that one a 7.5, and partially because of nostalgia goggles, but honestly because I thought that was okay. This one I'm gonna have to give a solid 8 because it even though I'm a little annoyed at the cop out, it still had some good solid concepts in it. There were a lot of adventures in the manga arcs that they went through, but in the anime it was, for what it is, for a 2000s anime, it's all right. I like it, so 8. Yeah.
All right. I once again I found it philosophically interesting, but ultimately kind of shallow. I found the characters to be meh. I found the story to be meh. I found the music, besides the opening and ending theme, to be okay, and then the opening and ending themes were pretty good. I quite liked them. Comedy was meh. Sometimes it was good, sometimes it wasn't. I'd say this is a very kind of just a little above average anime for me. I'm gonna go with a 7.
All right.
Fair enough.
Round it up.
And divide that by 5, and that's a 7.5.
7.5. How do we compare?
That was
Mouse score is 7.51.
Oh well, we're directly on that. All right.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Alright.
Before we transition, I want to do something.
What?
Ba 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 da ba 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 ba.
What are you doing?
I'm done.
That's one of the transition musics from Chobits.
I know, but I'm like, why? Why are you doing this today?
ching. All right.
Yeah.
Because we're moving on to the main attraction.
All right. So, we covered Chobits. We covered Karekano. So now let's cover the third one. This one is called Clannad. It came out in fall 2007, and it was created by Kyoto Animation. It is yet another comedy, sort of rom-com, slice of life. And this one stars hold on, let me pull up the Mal list. Here we go. This one stars Tomiya and Nagisa, or they usually call themselves by their last names, Okazaki and Furukawa. And this one's a bit hard to describe because it is simultaneously one of the funniest things I've ever seen and one of the saddest things I've ever seen. And these funny and sad moments weave together quite seamlessly. The plot involves Tomiya running into a bunch of different girls that are in his high school, and ending up getting dragged into their deepest and darkest problems and existential crises. So, I think that's a good summary. Striker, what did you like? What did you dislike?
Oh man, what did I like? I like the fact it was so relatable, especially looking back at at my high school years. The animation, of course, it's Kyoto animation. It's not gonna be perfect, but it does very well, especially in the beginning scenes with the robot and a girl story.
The dream sequences were all animated in ones at a very high frame rate, and it was very smooth.
Yeah, it was very impressive for the time, and well, it still is. It still holds its own. The story instantaneously hooked me up. And then we have the fact that, well, the soundtrack, I wasn't, to be honest with you, I wasn't a fan of the soundtrack, but at least
I'll let you continue. I'll talk about it when I get to me. Anything you didn't like?
Well, honestly, I didn't like the soundtrack. I didn't like the fact that this is not a very good anime to play. You feel you lose because you're gonna feel a lot.
Thankfully, we're only talking about season 1. Only season 1, thankfully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Season 2 is arguably a lot more worse regarding the tragedy because it ups it up to 11. It's very realistic. I really like that.
Yeah.
And I forgot to mention that it's also by Clamp as well. This is from the same people who did Chobits earlier on. Yeah, this is from Clamp. Yeah, this is one of Clamp's most famous works. There was something I was gonna mention, and here's the thing: there is a reference to Cardcaptor Sakura in this anime.
Are you serious?
In the first, yeah. You know the staff that Kyo or Rio grabbed when they were trying to be the magical girls in the drama club.
Oh God! Okay, wow.
That is the very staff from Sakura Kinomoto in Cardcaptors, and the sword. I haven't seen this one, but I think that one's from Tsubasa Chronicles. I think that's the Lee Shouran's sword.
It looks like it was actually. It doesn't look like it was Clamp. It looks like it was Comic Rush.
Yeah, there's a lot of homages in this anime. That time period was filled with them for different animes, because that was the thing, is like you'd be like, oh, that's from that anime and I like that anime, so that must be the studio. So there's a lot of that.
And here's the thing: there was a misconception that Clannad was named after an Irish band called the same name.
Wasn't it because the creator thought the word clan was Clannad?
As in family.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something like that.
But yeah, it ends up that the I'm looking up who did this as well. It was Toei. Yeah, and no, man, you know what? Carry on. I gotta get together. Next.
All right. Yeah, Josh, what did you think about likes, dislikes?
So just regarding the first season, there is a lot of side stories that really don't lead anywhere in this show. And while like I'm always going to love this anime, it is still one of my favorites to go back to and watch. I think I've watched it what 4 or 5 times now. It's the first season is never as rememberable for me as the second, and I'm always going to be biased towards the second season being what it is. That being said, the character developments are actually character developments. The pacing is amazing. The comedy is some of the best. There is, on every single anime list that I've ever read on who is the best dad in anime, Nagisa's dad is always the top. There is no other better dad in any anime than this guy.
Agreed.
He is the greatest father of all time. I love him.
What, the main character or his dad?
Yeah, the main character, Nagisa, the daughter.
Sanae
dad-
and
yeah.
Akio? Right?
Yeah, Akio. Akio is the greatest father of all time in any anime, and I don't think anyone could ever convince me otherwise.
I did quite like him. He was you know who he kind of reminded me of? He kind of reminded me of the mother from SSSX Gridman, oddly
Oh
enough.
yeah. I made a joke with my girlfriend because I made her watch it, and she's been trying to avoid it for a while. That this guy has the exact personality, if you've played League of Legends, of Rakan.
Rakan?
And if Rakan ever became a father, he would be very similar.
Who's Rakan again?
Zaya and Rakan, the bird people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So for me, like, this has always been one of my favorites. I'm never gonna say that it's not. And just the timing, the pacing, the character developments. There's not much really to complain about outside of some of the story seems to be lacking at some points where they're trying to get you attached to all the characters. And the attachments are more for the second season. So a lot of the plot line doesn't make sense until you get to the second season.
Yeah. I find that like there's a lot of characters. Like there are a lot of characters. And if any particular character doesn't get an arc, you're just not gonna see all that much of them, or at least not as much as you should be able to.
My internet went out.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Well,
I
welcome
would
back.
say that they actually balance the arcs pretty well, considering.
Yeah. Yeah, but some of the more important characters don't get an arc in the first season.
Yeah.
Like the blonde-haired dude. I'm not currently looking at the character list.
I'm horrible with names. The short
Yeah, same here.
and I always suck at character names. So I'm not even gonna lie.
Dude Nahata.
Yeah, that's it.
Like his arc isn't until season 2.
They at least set it up for like having his sister around, where he's trying to
Yeah.
have a relationship, and you can see that arc coming in. But I do agree.
And then then there is one arc in particular that is particularly devastating, and I feel like they kind of ruin it. after the arc's over, and that is the Ibuki Fuko arc.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Like-
my lord.
Ibuki Fuko, first of all, her character design is incredibly well thought out. Like I noticed immediately, her uniform is too big, and she's wearing tights like a little kid. And keep in mind, this is Japan. Adult women don't really wear tights under their skirt. In Japan, not really. So it's immediately just from her design, she looks a lot less mature than the rest of the characters, and it's this. She's this perfectly innocent person. Like there's like you could not wish any harm to this person whatsoever. She's not, she's. I mean, she has character flaws, but they involve being like socially awkward, or maybe being a little too childish, or something like that. Not from being like genuinely bad in any way.
I'm gonna say that she had a fan club at one point for what she was doing, and that shows a lot. Like, where it's like there's this very immature character, and everyone is cheering her on to the point that there's a giant fan club that is trying to help her. So,
but then people just suddenly. Should I even say it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. People just suddenly start forgetting her, and they can't see her anymore, and she slowly starts fading out of reality entirely, to the point where her closest friends don't even remember that she ever existed, and it's absolutely devastating, and they hit you with it right at the height of when everything's just going perfectly. But I feel like that that arc is kind of cheapened after the fact, because they every once in a while they just bring Fuko back for a joke, and then she disappears again.
Yeah, they turn her into the comedy relief is the issue, and that's been that's been one of my biggest issues with the show, and I can't remember if they do it in the second season. I didn't rewatch it yet.
No.
And it's very much they were just trying to make sure that they had a comedy relief, because there wasn't many outside of the father. But yeah, I do understand your point.
I feel like for the most part, the characters that are already there are capable of making their own comedy.
Yeah.
They all work off each other quite well. And the show keeps up the pacing well enough. While I'm here, while I have the floor, I might as well say my thoughts on the music. I thought the music was quite good. I really liked the opening theme. The opening theme was... It had a lot of energy behind it. It was a lot of fun. And I like how all of the girls had their own theme. I quite liked Kotomi's theme with the very fancy kind of regal sounding violins.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Personally, I thought the Kotomi card was one of the most memorable ones.
Yeah. Mike, what did you think about the show?
I actually enjoyed this one probably the most. I really appreciate, as weird as this sounds, I appreciate a good gut punch in a show. I like to be drawn back to reality in some ways, just so if it's too happy, I don't want that. Too happy, and I start. Hey,
Did you enjoy when Samurai Jack had that ending where his girlfriend faded away?
It's been a long time since I've seen Samurai Jack.
No, season 5 had a gut punch. Whenever people say gut punch, I'm like, no, those are horrible.
Well, let's
Sorry,
keep
yeah.
on topic. We're in danger of going quite long.
Yeah, we're already at an hour and 20 minutes. We should probably start like wrapping up in like a few minutes.
Yeah, that's where I was just going to kind of sum this up. Where I enjoyed the show. The gut punches were great. I felt that it didn't linger too long, and main characters felt interconnected with their side characters as if each one of these plots were interrelated to one another, even though they might be separate and all that. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but there's this really nice connection between all of these side arcs.
Yeah, and the main character Tomoya is kind of the string that runs through all of them.
Yes,
and he's quite an interesting character himself because he doesn't act like a typical main character of a rom-com. He's somewhat disinterested, but he's also somewhat or I wouldn't say disinterested, I'd say aloof.
It kind of feels like he has a certain level of numbness, which I think that might have also just what added to me resonating with this character.
Yeah,
that's where he had elements of character that I could to much more than any of these other characters.
Yeah.
I've seen.
He had pretty high levels of cynicism.
Yeah,
And
I liked how he was kind of this troll. If he saw a situation he could take advantage of to create humor, he would just do it without even a second thought. You know, there was this part where blonde-haired guy
Kohei.
Yohei, he, you know, or Sunahata, we'll just call him that because he's called that more in the show. Sunahata was kicked by Tomoyo, and this was like maybe the 5th time this happened. And
it was a recurring joke at that.
Yeah, and it, you know, he's sent flying, and then it gets to Tomoya, and he kicks him back, just to have Tomoyo kick him like 100 times again.
Oh god, that fucking.
And then there's him replacing characters when Fuko is like in a starstruck trance. There's him framing things to look like love confessions when they're not, and there's just all kinds of absolutely hilarious pranks that he does, and I quite like all of it.
Man,
any more thoughts, Mike?
I actually hit about several other points I was about to go for. No, that's about right. I really enjoyed this show. I was not expecting. I thought it was going to just be straight edge. And I'm like, oh, this is really nice. Like they're hitting reality in aspects that most people aren't forced to confront with.
All right. By the way, anyone noticed there was a Yukino Miyazawa in this show?
That's probably pretty funny. That was on purpose.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, no, they did that on purpose because they were alluding to the fact of like where the style of show came from. It's funny because that's really what this is his and her circumstance is the outline of how a show should look, and this is how a show. Well, it is the outline, and then this is how a show is perfected, in my
Yeah.
eyes.
Let's go with RJ. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so biggest gripe is not being able to understand what the hell happened with those light orbs and the time travel. That was confusing for me.
Do you want me to jump in and just explain that really
sure,
quickly?
Sure.
Go ahead.
You remember the play?
Yeah, with the girl in the illusionary world. Yeah.
That was her memory of the play.
Yeah.
That was her story. It's very much like she just remembered something, and it doesn't really mean much past that, except like that is a memory that she had that keeps coming up, and there's this. It's this hint of like there's a very bad tragedy about to happen. If you listen to all the parts together, I would actually suggest going on YouTube and just listening to all of those, because I know they have a video somewhere of them all lined up. They work together to become what Clannad actually is. So.
Yeah.
So were the memories the light orbs?
It's for more
it's also it's supposed to be a play, or I think more of like a short story poem was more of what that was. So think of it not as like what something is supposed to be. Think of it as artistic creativity. The light orbs are what you want them to be. They could be the past lives of people moving through this new plane. They could be the memories of the past. They could be the essence of the earth slowly fading away. It's very much, the play is symbiotic to what's going on.
Josh, mind if I drop my 2 cents regarding the light orbs? I'm at the wiki right now. Alright, the light orbs were basically a powerful source of power that exists in Hikarisaka and the illusionary world. This was basically, they were created whenever Tomoya or any other person helps someone achieve happiness by completing a goal. They are also a powerful force collectively and can cause miracles to occur. There are 3 prerequisites regarding the light orbs. The first one has to be that they will do exactly what's asked. Nothing more, nothing less. And the second one is the wishes are only granted if they are genuinely wanted. And the third one was that the children's were the culmination of their parents' hopes and dreams. Something that is very discussed throughout the anime.
All right.
And speaking of that, we should be talking about Akio and Nagisa's parents.
Yeah, Nagisa's parents. Let's see. The dad wanted to be an actor, and he was really good, like best in his class, and had high ambitions for it. And the mom,
Sanae, was going to be a teacher at one point.
Yep. But after they had Nagisa Furukawa, they and after one day she got sick and collapsed, and they found out their daughter was quite frail and very vulnerable. They had to give up on their dreams and instead start a bakery where they can work at home and take much closer care of her and pay pay a lot more attention to her, so that she doesn't get hurt, or if she collapses, they're around to help her. And that ends up being the plot thread of of the final arc of the first season, in which Nagisa finds out about it, and she feels incredibly guilty. She blames herself for the fact that her parents had to give up on their dreams. But anyway, we're running a little long, so let's give final thoughts, scores. Scott Striker. I almost called you Skylar again.
Oh God! It's like the running joke between the bakery scene between Akio and Sanae whenever she cries. Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Oh wait,
That's-
you guys have that dynamic together. I'm just messing with you.
All right.
Oh,
Give us your score.
all right.
I didn't get to
At
see
first-
I didn't get to see what I liked or what I hated.
Oh.
So-
RJ, go ahead.
So
go ahead.
okay, so starting off, I was gonna like just shit on this anime because I thought at first it was just another harem anime because I didn't fucking watch it. I was just like, okay, lots of female characters, got this main character, but it was all right. I mean, I'm not gonna say I thoroughly enjoyed it because I just couldn't grasp the philosophy around it. But it still was well done. Yeah, it was well done enough where I can respect it for what it is. Yeah, it kind of just like it did a curveball on me. I went in expecting another goddamn rom-com, and then I come out with, oh crap, that was actually not too shabby.
You come in for rom-com and you come out with depression.
Crippling depression at that.
Well, I have to add, I almost didn't want to check out Clannad and join on this, but I had a buddy who's like, no, dude, I never bawl like a baby, and this show made me bawl like a baby. I'm like, oh shit, you never cry. I gotta check this out.
All right. Maybe it's about time I drop my feels about it. At first, I thought it was going to be some Moe Blob anime. The really uppity type. You come in for the Moe shit. You leave with thinking about how you waste your life and how you want to fucking die. Because if you ever play, you feel you lose, you're gonna absolutely fucking lose. This game will destroy you. Sorry, this series will destroy you. Both seasons will. Honestly, this anime has aged very well, despite the fact it came out a couple of years ago.
Came out over 10 years ago.
Over 10 years ago. Oh, sorry.
2007.
Real circumstances without being contrived.
This was
Yeah.
one of the realest animes I've ever seen. And my
Oh.
final score? Well, between the first and the second season, this is a 9. Honestly, watch it. Watch this anime. It is absolutely brutal. It will totally. Not only is it not what I expected, it also ended up being one of those animes I will remember for the rest of my life. The last time I cried like a little bitch was when I watched the ending of Madoka Magica.
All right.
You want to give a
Josh.
score to it?
He said 9.
Oh, no. Okay, cool. I wasn't paying. Missed that. So this is still one of my favorite animes of all time. It relates well. I think one of the things that this anime does is you will find a character that you relate to within it, because there are so many characters. Since we are only talking about the first season, not the second, it's going to be a little bit lower of a score because the second season is really the better one, and there's no getting around that.
True that.
However, with how well this anime does, it really is the epitome of how an anime, like how any love story should go, how you should work on your character designs, how you should work on the relationships. The design for this anime is just so perfect to being an example of how a rom-com should be at all points. And this anime is the one that opened me up to liking rom-coms so much. So there's not enough good I can say about the show to justify not recommending it on every single level. You will feel something from watching it. You will enjoy it. Even people that don't like this style tend to attach themselves to this anime. And if you ask anyone that's watched it in the anime community, they will recommend it to you. It transcends time. It transcends genres. So I give it a 9. I'll give it a 9, with knowing that the second season would have been a 10.
All right. 676.
I give this one a solid 8. It tugged on all the right emotional strings, built characters well. It was the closest I felt to like, shit, this might make me cry. Fuck, this is good. This is really good. This is out of the 3. Might as well just watch this one. In my eyes, anyway.
RJ.
Yeah, 7.5. I'm sorry. I
That's
thought
okay.
I thought it was all right. Just I liked the weird metaphysical stuff. You know, changing reality and willpower, and you know, if you forget about someone, they fade. That was okay, but it kind of just isn't my style. You know, I like more. You guys already know I'm more of a shonen guy, and also the other thing is if it's not shonen, it has to be high tech stuff. So that's why I like Chobits. So gonna have to give it a 7.5, but it's still good.
All right.
That is definitely the highest score.
8.2.
8.2.
Right. Wait, no, I haven't rated yet.
Oh, wow, I'm stupid.
So Clannad. So it was Kadai Kano that first got me into shoujo anime. And it's been a long time since I've seen a show quite like it, insofar as it captures characters that and people that just feel so real, like you can reach through the screen and touch them. And that's exactly what I got with Clannad. It was it even with it like not taking itself completely seriously all the time, even with like over the top dramatizations and stuff like that are particularly common to anime, I still felt like I can reach my hands into the screen and touch these characters. That's how real they felt to me.
These are characters we've met before. They actually hit on like archetypes that are aspects of our realities.
And it's very rare that something is like that. The plot holds up. I have nothing bad to say about the plot. The music's great. Animation is great. Like there's not much. There's not really anything I could pick at, and it seems like I think I'm gonna have to give it a 9.5. I'm afraid to give something a 10, because that's just admitting that it's an absolute masterpiece that it is just transcendent of the genre itself. And you know what? It might be. it might deserve a 10, but I'm going to give it a 9.5. All right, let's get the averages now.
And that is an 8.7.
8.7, and the Mao score is 8.18.
Congratulations, Planet! You beat the record!
Congratulations,
what's the
Clan
mouse
Ed,
score
you are
again?
by far the best.
The Mao score is 8.18.
And ours is 8.7.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay then.
So we liked it more than the average person. However, there's probably also a lot of hateful people that were like, this anime made me cry, fuck it. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot of people like, it made me feel things!
I didn't want to feel things, I watched animated.
I watched
Yeah,
anime to escape.
I found this very difficult to enjoy myself too.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
terrible.
seeing some reviews that are like 3s and 4s,
Yeah.
just scrolling through the front page.
Yeah, so
But then
I had a feeling that would be.
a Kagame avatar rated it a 9 though.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's definitely one of the top ones ever.
Yeah.
And the reason, and here's the thing. Rarely do I am not a. Here's the thing. I am not a big fan of romantic comedies for the most part because I think they're bullshit. But Clannad is one of those very rare instances where it really struck me. It really made me think.
Yeah.
It's a masterpiece.
All right.
Oh,
So,
wow.
as go ahead.
This one person gave it a 1.
What was the reason?
Like-
Holy shit! Are you
Like
serious?
I'm sorry. This is something that annoys me about Mao is like people don't know how to rate things. All right, a 1 would represent failure on such an epic level. Like a 1 would mean it.
Unfinished.
It hardly even qualifies as animation. A 1 would. A
Yeah,
1
there's
would
an
mean
actual.
like
Hold
there's.
up. There's an actual anime that's like that. It was on YouTube, where the animation was out of frame, and the voice acting was broken, and it was released on VHS somehow. That would be a 1.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't give Devil May Cry a 1.
Let
Yeah.
me guess. It's Nora, isn't it?
I don't know. It's a ninja guy to. Let's not.
Yeah,
Alright.
Single people.
yeah. let's people out. But yeah, no, like,
Look at this piece of shit giving it a 1!
yeah, no, it's definitely like there's always going to be haters, and whatever reasons they give is their reasons, and whenever you give everyone an opinion, some of the most loved things in the world are still going to be hated by someone.
Yeah.
So
All right. Anyway, let's wrap this up. It's been good. It's been good, guys. I hope you all enjoyed the podcast. I hope you maybe you find these shows interesting. Maybe you don't. Maybe you found something new to watch. And we'll see you next time. In what's next month? Next month is June, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see us in June.
That'll be the seasonal anime.
Yep.
That's
We're going. You've seen literal robot slip and slides. We'll call them slip and slides.
Wow.
You've seen-
Gynoids. I'm
Yeah,
just-
yeah. You've seen literal gynoids. Well, now you're gonna see the real thing.
Oh.
we are diving into the Ichi extremely
The
hard
abyss.
next month.
I call it the
So I'll
abyss.
see you
Yeah,
guys in
still-
July.
And still, they are the top ones of so far this season, so we kind of have to.
Dude, what is that?
We'll see you next month.
All right,
I'll
good.
sign out before I get depressed.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
See ya.
Take care, dudes and dudettes. This has been Red Baron and Gang. I didn't get to introduce myself because of the freaking microphone. Okay.
Okay.